Okay, let me make sure everything is good. All right, there is sound. Every so often you get this startup. Okay, good evening, everyone. Good evening, good Tuesday evening to you. I am Dr. Samuel Lombardo, the Executive Director, Visionary, Agent of SL Models and Talent Agency, LLC. And we have a lot to go through today. Could we actually land 3 hours on a show tonight? It is very, very possible because it's a huge topic. This is a big thing for the dreamers in the industry, as well as anyone that is wanting to start anything new in their life, or if they're just stuck. Okay, so that's what the message is going to be for tonight. And it is going to be a very good one, but heavy laden. So get your notes out for sure, for sure. Okay, before we go there, we got some preliminary announcement. So if you have not subscribed, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is SL Models and Talent Agency, LLC. You can see us. We are the gold icon with the red ring around it. I hadn't said much about this, but the gold icon, believe it or not, resembles the light. The artist within it resembles God, who creates everything that encompasses us. And the red line is actually noted for the love that God has for each and every one of us. And so it is a round icon, as if it's the globe or the world, and that God is in the middle of everything that we do. He watches over us. And of course, red symbolizes the love and the heart. And it also filters even into what SL Models and Talent Agency's vision is, which is to unleash the artist within and let your light shine. And it goes right to your personal, which is that you love what you do and that you know you are the creator in what you do. So we'll be talking about that gold icon for sure tonight. Also, if you would like to sponsor SL Models and Talent Agency, you can do so at, hold on 1 second. I'm getting a whole lot of, this is not the right time. Okay, sometimes I get a bit frustrated, but that's okay. All right, so where I was. Okay, if you are interested in supporting the SL Models and Talent Agencies community, SLMTA community, you could do so at www.patreon.com/SLMTA. Okay, we have plans as low as $5 per month, all the way up to $250 per month if you're looking to be a platinum VIP member. So all these sponsorships do go toward the Community Stars program, which does start this year on August 11th. Okay, and then we have, and then if you are interested, if you're looking to sponsor, which we do have several sponsors thus far, what's going to happen, and I need to take a moment to talk about this as well. Tomorrow, I do plan to have a primetime show, and the primetime show is actually going to talk about how we're going to do sponsorship. So that way, then I'm answering the questions relating to that, because we did have about 35 valid questions to our emails about interest in a sponsorship program, and we would like to answer those questions. So definitely stand by if this is something that you are waiting for. We are going to be doing it at our prime time show tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. Now, if you want to know a little bit about the sponsorship, you can do so. The slmta-agency.square.site/SLMTA-sponsorships. Everything that I'm just saying right now is actually pinned in the comments, so you could actually see it for yourself. You can follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/.slmta as well. Now, I am going to tell you about some websites that are being developed and when they will be developed. And then you could keep an eye on those. Okay. Let me go ahead and do that right now. Okay. So as I mentioned, the Community Stars program is going to actually be separate from the agency. The agency will focus on pro models and superstar celebs, etc. Okay. So what is going to happen now, that doesn't mean that you're not in the roster. Okay. What it means is that everything related to Community Stars is going to be on its own pages. We will have community-stars.com. That will be available beginning on June 15th. We will have community-stars.info, which is just a info site landing page, and that will actually be available on May 21st. Okay, and I gotta make sure I wrote that in there. And then we are actually going to have a community-stars.live site. This is where we will be able to do live audition. We will be doing live performances. We will also conduct recitals, showcases live. They will be listed on that site, and that will actually start on October 1st. Now, why is it such broad dates that we're doing this? First of all, you need to know about the information, okay? So the information has to be forefront and important, and then you gotta have the applications. We're gonna be doing it where you'll be able to apply online. And when you apply online, again, this is set up like a vocational school. This is not a college. This is not really like, it's not university, it's not a college, we'll put it that way. But it is similar to vocational, okay? And it encompasses two things: performance readiness and audition readiness. But each one is going to have its own audition criteria and everything. So you guys are going to have to follow directions very closely when you actually apply to Community Stars. And then it actually gets even more interesting when you want to do the Master Stars program, because it's a 2-year program, but instead of it only verifying you as an artist, model, dancer, etc., it will actually certify you. Okay, so you would actually graduate with a certificate, and that is beginning in the year 2022. So it'll be August of 2022. And then that will start up, but that requires you to actually have some experience. This Master Star program is for those who already have the experience of, say, like photo shooting, kind of have some experience in modeling, but maybe not have a full development stage on their resume per se, outside of the work that they are doing with their agency. And it also, so what it does is it goes the next step above the actual Community Stars, as well as performance readiness. It actually takes you into communication. In fact, it requires you to actually do practicums, meaning that you could be working with agencies, you could be working with film producers, you could be, so you're going to be doing a lot of hands-on that is going to require you to do specific things during those 2 years. After that, like if that's something that you're interested in, but you still want to sign up to be like an emerging artist, well, so Miles and Town Agency, you can do so. But if you're a dreamer, you have to at least start at Community Stars. And in fact, if you don't have experience at all, you would not make it through the Master Stars program, because it's very, very strict. And you are doing a lot of work. In fact, we don't, and I'm going to say it this way too, we do not encourage students that may have a busy schedule outside of maybe school. And when I say students, I'm talking about kids, okay? Because this is going to take, the Master Stars program is really more or less for ages 13 and above. 4 to 12, you wouldn't have to worry about this, parents, okay? They would just be sticking with the Community Stars program. If that is something that you're going to be doing, it is going to be advertised in a whole nother level. It does not have anything to do with, also, it has nothing to do with SL Models and Talent Agency. Outside of that, SL Models and Talent Agency staff and contacts would be involved with the training process. And SL Models and Talent Agency is a member agency to MAAI. So these would be the students going to MAAI. Also, our MAAI conventional training will be listed under the Community Stars program as well, because we are trying to keep all of our educational programs and workshops on one level, while our performance national agency and celebs and all that are staying on another level. All right. But they are both hand in hand. So SLMTA does run Community Stars. It's just that we have to separate it, because there's confusion about the whole booking process and why students have to pay so much for certain things and all that. This is its own branding process to build up. So we will be talking a little bit. Actually, we're going to be taking all of tomorrow night just talking about Community Stars. So that's what we're going to be doing. So that's just a little bit of that. Some house cleaning rules that I want to mention is that when you are emailing, make sure that you have a way of contact. Okay, there are some folks that are emailing SL Models and Talent Agency, or we're getting leads, and there is no way of contacting anybody. That is a major no-no. SL Models and Talent Agency does not have time to be trying to get some research people to find numbers. They need to have the number associated with it. So that's for those who are providing us leads. Those who are emailing us with the perspective or the idea of wanting to become a new model, you know, our focus is to first consult you. We're going to do this in a different way. We are going to first consult with you, and then we're going to determine if Community Stars at the bare minimum is going to be right for you. I will say this much: Community Stars isn't going to be half as tough as a Master Stars program, because of it does have a lot less practicum, but you are still like 6 months, you're going to be auditioning like crazy. Okay, you're going to be like providing recitals. Like if you're a musician, you're going to be providing recitals. You're going to be, if you're a singer, you'll be doing a mini concert or what have you. You'll be working with voice mentors, etc. And these will all be done live. So if you are a singer-songwriter and you don't want your stuff to be out there like this or like that, then your suggestion would probably be to cover with somebody else and not your stuff, because it is going to happen live. It's technically, even though we're not a college or a university or an actual school, we are, the program is set up in a very strategic way to be able to develop their skills that they need. Okay, which is what we are going to be talking about tonight, but we're going to be talking about a whole lot of stuff when it comes to development. But it's basically raising you up from the ground up, because of that is where you're staring. Now for those masters out there, this is going to be for those who are actually like they're ready to take it to the next step. They might have even went to college. Okay, we're going to be talking about a whole lot of things as to why we even developed the master program anyway. The master program is not a master degree, so do not get that mixed up. Do not try to put words in my mouth that I had not put out, and do not assume that you thought what I was saying. It is not a college, it's not a university. It's set up kind of like it's kind of, how I want to say it. It's more like a vocational school, but the reason that we have a master program is because this is for those who, oh, excuse me, wow. This is for those who may be emerging leaders and or models and or talent, okay, that has experience, but it's not necessarily moving in their favor as quickly as possible, but they had everything that they needed from the ground up. Okay, in this case, we are basically taking you and saying that you are going to be put to work. During the last year of the Master Stars program, you will be seeing yourself pretty much, you should be leading up towards where astroctalcy is. Okay. That doesn't mean that you would be. That just means that that's the level that you would be at. And so, in other words, there's one thing to be at a convention and to have national agents and you're working with national professional agencies and clients. This program actually even takes it above that, and you actually get invited to Artist Gala. Okay, don't forget that didn't just go away and disappear. Artist Gala is for those. This is more or less an award ceremony type program. All right, and so there are certain stipulations that you have to follow in order to be able to reach that level where you're getting an award. This is the area where instead of you just doing a recital and saying, yes, I can sing, we are now going to be actually like, we're going to take your brand and we're going to put you out there. All right. There will be practicum. Some of the practicum that could happen is that maybe you would be a backup singer for a lead band. I'm just using examples, okay? You could be someone that conducts, like if you like choirs or what have you, you can conduct choirs. You may end up helping a film producer in the casting process. There are many different things that you would be doing where you would actually be showing yourself there. You could be doing props for theater shows. Okay. Many different things that could be happening, and some could be paid and some may not. Now, does that mean that you have to wait another 2 years before you actually get a booking? No, actually what this is supposed to do is it's supposed to increase your chances for booking. That's why I said it would be difficult for you to be able to go to school. You want to make sure you have enough time to complete the Master Stars program. It's the only program that would be out there that's educational, where the money comes back to you. See, the Community Stars program, you would be paying out, but the hope is that you get bookings. The problem is just that they need to know who you are. So we have to develop a resume. We have to figure out what your niche is. We got to know who you are. That's what Community Stars is to develop you from the ground up. The Master Stars are those who've already passed that level and is actually now ready to be, like they're getting ready to take the next step. But there's more in the process of learning that is required for the master's program. Like it doesn't stop at Community Stars, if that makes sense. I don't know even what that is. Hold on a second. I don't even know what I was emailing. Okay. It's saying that there was an email sent that it doesn't exist, but I didn't send an email out, so I don't know where that even came from. All right. So anyway, I always end up spending 20 to 30 minutes talking about announcements in the beginning of my shows. And that's because I try to figure out, I'm leaning into the topic tonight. And this is how I usually do it anyway, any other night. I try to lean into the topic, but tonight I wanted to answer a lot of the questions where there is confusion, because there was some confusion. Like, why, like, why would somebody pay an agency that kind of money to get booked? So I had to make sure, that I'm gonna be very straightforward, blunt, and honest here. This scenario is not scamish. So that was the number one thing that I needed to do. I needed to clear up that kind of a what do you want to call scenario, because it was happening with the agency. It's still happening with the agency. The only difference is that the agency has decided to develop the Community Stars program and the Dreamers Lit a total separate thing. Okay. And the reason for that, and I'm going to be very blunt and honest here too. Well, first, let me just mention the three reasons why. So we don't want to come off like we're just taking people's money, and they have the idea that they're getting booked, because in all honesty, Community Stars does not guarantee bookings at all. In fact, you don't have time for the booking. You actually, it's a total 100% educational program. You will be doing a lot of auditioning. You're going to be doing a whole lot of recitals. You're going to be doing a whole lot of performing, showcases, workshops. You're going to be attending a convention. You're going to be doing a whole lot of studies, tests. Okay, and then also to include it with that, like photo ops as well. So there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. That what's going to happen is the clients and the other national agency, it's like the real ones that I'm actually talking to. I'm not talking about the ones that just, like, I don't know how to explain it in any other way than that I have to look them up on Google to figure out who they are. No, that's not the ones I'm talking about. That's not national. National agencies are actual agencies that are legitimate to the core, and they are basically, they are verified by both the BBB as well as perhaps the union, depending on what they service, and they are verified by other professionals. Okay, we are not talking about the fly-by-night where, and some of them may not be, but for a minute there, I was in that boat. I was in the boat of where I was considered a national agency, but I actually wasn't really considered national agency until the BBB, until I started getting recognized by other type of programs out there like ATA and NAPA and places like that as well. Like, we are in the middle of an application with that to be verified as an actual legitimate agency. That's what I'm talking about when I say legitimate agency. Okay. There may be those out there that they might have different types of models that are on their roster, and they might have clients that are all over the place. So that doesn't actually make it national because of that. There's different criterias of, like, the legitimacy of national versus geographical. See, geographical would be more or less like local. Okay, where you have a bunch of models that are within that local area, and that maybe a lot of your clients are within a local area, but because maybe you have one or two clients that are in like a branded area, because like I have that too, where it's in New York, Miami, and all that now. But that one, that doesn't really classify the national way. It's geographical as far as the clients are concerned. We'd have to talk about that. I don't really have time to even get into that discussion right now. So that's why I'm saying technically why Community Stars has to be separate from the agency, even though that it's the agency that is being productive to the Community Stars program. All right. We don't want to confuse it with and this isn't about us being afraid of what parents would say, because either way, it don't really matter to me. We know what we are doing. The problem is that, and this is the truth, and we're going to talk about that tonight, is that there are some people out there that are trying to get something for nothing, but at the same time don't know how to get that something that they want. So there's all these kind of problems that are happening in every face value, but for some odd reason, the top one happens to be the dreamer that dream, like they're at the point of sleepwalking and they already have what it takes, so they think that they don't need to go through all of this. Or that they're going to try to tell me, you know, I went to this modeling school and then I researched the modeling school to find out that they don't even exist. So, you know, I don't really entertain it. I basically say, here is the programs we offer them. We will consult for a few moments with you. And then it's really up to you to take the move. But tonight we want to encourage you to take the move. And that's why that's why I am ready to offer this opportunity for you to listen to a very good topic. So that's where we are at as of right now on the Community Stars program. Okay. So now that we are actually able to focus on the Community Stars program without it being a whole nother thing, and there's this confusion about why am I spending money to get my child booked, or why do I have to spend this kind of money to get booked and all this stuff. Now it's pretty much, you actually see what is included, and the focus is on networking and exposure. And therefore, how I pitch this are one or two options. Okay. For the student coming out of high school, we'll say this. For you guys, it would be, do you want to spend thousands of dollars trying to figure out how to act in a university? Or would you rather take maybe some, how do I want to say this? So this is where it will get confusing for some folks. Okay. Would you rather spend thousands of dollars, okay, to go to a college for real and actually sit there for 4 years before you realize that that you could have done much more with your career between those 4 years? Or would you go with a reputable, because we're going to talk about what that means, a reputable company that has a way to get you the exposure that you need, the reality of how this industry works and everything. And then if you needed a minor or something, you can minor in this, if that's the case. and take some extra classes and tests or whatever that you want to do at the university, but your major would be on something that you can do on a back end. And hint, most people that I have spoken with, that's what they did. They would take programs like this, and then they would actually go to school and say study business. And then they would actually start up their own actual agency. You know what I mean? Or they might start up their own production company or whatever. They are able to take the time to be able to do it. See, colleges are good with that. Now, I can consult you because college will give you the textbook value of the information, but the reality of how to start a business, if you don't do it right, or you hadn't set it up right, or you don't know where to get licenses or whatever, you could literally end up putting yourself out there for trouble, even if it's not intentional, you know? So that's why we actually have the consulting services that is available, especially for our freelancers. So what we're doing is we are basically selling this like this. You get, within 1 year, you would be exposed by hundreds of agents and clients. You would know it. You would know exactly information. You would know the formation and the productivity of your actual doing within that year. So now that I've gotten a little off the wall again because of email, so this is a very, very busy time. That's why I'm really hoping that I could actually eventually start working out our budgets, because then this won't actually happen. I don't have to have someone like bing, bing, bing in the middle of me actually doing this. Somebody could actually be at the office and doing it for me. Okay. Now, how I would basically pitch it, let me go back to that because it seems like, I've gotten a little bit confused, so I want to get back into it. How I ended up pitching this, okay, it is basically all about exposure and networking. And I have been saying this in my lives too, so that you guys understand this concept, okay? That networking in this industry is going to be what is going to hold you up. It's not even about how many clients you have. I could sit here and tell you I got 95,000 clients, okay? But that doesn't mean nothing if you can't show up to no network event to actually see any of that. So yeah, you might be like signed by SL Models and Talent Agency, but then you're like, but then it's like, for some of you, it's just really bad, because some of you are just flat out ignoring the fact that when I'm sending you the emails, they're not being answered. Or if I'm sending messages, they are not being answered. So I am going to do a little rant here and say, I already by now realize that it's just a waste of time, and that something you got to put yourself out there and move, okay? And I don't have time to waste. So, and clients are not going to look at something just because you feel like you're sexy. You know what I mean? It's not going to work that way. So if that's your attitude, then you and the attitude, we're going to talk about that today, but I'm going to be very straight and blunt with you on this one. You and your attitude can basically take that at the door and come in with the real attitude, the right attitude, the actual who you are. And if that is who you are, then maybe you need some, what I'm about to talk to you about tonight, character development. Okay, now that I got that nice, lovely sermon out of the way. I am excited for everyone. Really am. I have to say that, but I want to throw something else out there since I'm talking like blunt. Oh yeah, one other thing about this community stars thing before I switch on the topic. Community stars be pitched to adults in the sense that it will actually help you get all the coaching you need and everything under one umbrella with one price. I'm not saying that it's going to be the best price, but by the time you go through everything, and yes, it's going to be very stringent. If you really want something that is going to really make you work, and I mean, I don't know yet because it's the first year we're doing it. I don't know how much, like, say your goal is that you want to just lose 50 pounds. All right, I'm just going to use that as an example. There is a very good chance that by the time you get through this program, if you're doing it right, that you could definitely lose 50 pounds. And why am I saying that? Because of the fact being that there are a lot of things that are going to be stated here. Okay. I'm not saying that to pick on anyone, but there are some things like, for example, if you're going to be conventional ready, if you want to be that other particular model, while you would fit in one particular niche, if you want to try to do something else, we are going to put you in the coaching to get you down the sizes that you need to be. We have that. That is all what we call plus ups in the actual Community Stars program. There's actually a whole entire health service that we are going to be providing within the Community Stars program that will actually help you with that, including even in addition to sleep habits, yes, and stress concerns. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about that come tonight in regards to character development, but you know, it's kind of like this structure that Biden has, right? Where he has the infrastructure and then he has what he calls the social infrastructure. Well, your character, you have the what is in you that needs to get fit, and then you have everything outside of you that needs to be set up, planned up, and everything is being tweaked, right? That's basically what is happening in character development. But I want to ask a few very, very, very important questions. Let me go in here real quick. Oops, I'm in the wrong one. Okay. These are very, very important questions. And this is exactly what we're going to be talking about tonight. You want to know who you are? Are you wondering why things are not going the way they should? Are you wondering why God is punishing you? Is it really punishment? Who are you listening to? Are you stuck by building blockades instead of bringing them down? Are you wondering when things will get easier for you? What is your motivation? What are you doing to earn up to the potential of that motivation? Do I know you? Why don't I know you? Are your credibility and performance aligning? Oh, this is powerful right here. Are your credibility and performance aligning with the purpose and the roadmap? Are you traveling without directions? And I love this one right here. Listen to this question very carefully. You know me with my puns. No pun intended, but why is the GPS, God's purpose for your soul, important for direction, alignment, and credibility in your life? How can others see that GPS? Some of us, I'm going to just stop right there. I'm going to stop right there for a minute. Some of us are actually hiding that GPS. Are you hearing me? We are hiding the GPS. Why are we hiding it? In fact, it doesn't matter how much you hide, you are going to be showing up. And I can't stop other people from talking. Oh, yeah, you can hide from me, but how you look to somebody else could be so totally different. And, you know, maybe this is what I call two-faced. I got to get right down to the point. Yes, I do. I got to get down to the point. Yes. Okay. Two-faced is when you have two sides of your character and you don't, and actually what's bad is it's reciprocal. There is no reciprocal transformation, though, if you want to put that into the psychological term. But there is reciprocal blockade. What is that? Reciprocal blockade, or how I use my, I made a term up in that. And basically it defines a person in a polite way having two characters to hide who they are from one area to another, but assuming the same reputation. How does that work? How can you try to do something like that? How can you? So one person, I'm going to give you a plain old example, okay? Man, are we preaching tonight? This is going to be powerful. I'm telling you, if you think that I'm hypered right now, and by the way, usually when you see me, my posture is straight up. Okay, so it doesn't matter what a person would actually say if they actually think, you know, and I'm open to any kind of criticism on a constructive way. We're going to talk about that. That is very, very important when it comes to character development. Yes, indeed. In fact, even God in the Word, okay, has told us what character development is. Do I have to hear an amen to that one? Oh, yes, I am not kidding. I'm not kidding. Character development is a very, very important thing. But it's just as important to the industry, to the people that you're in front of, as it is in your spiritual life. But you may be able to fool those in front of you. Hear me when I say that. So you may be able to fool the people that are around you, but you would not be able to fool the GPS. Did you hear me? You will not be able to fool the GPS. The GPS would end up fooling you before you fool it. Wow, how powerful that is. And I'm actually getting goosebumps all over me right now. This is big, 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 folks. Oh. Now let's calm it down. We got to tone it down a minute. Okay, we got to turn it down. We really do. Okay. How can you achieve anything? How would you be able to achieve something having two sides of you? Let me break down that question just a little bit more. How can one side work over the other? Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let me get the chainsaw and cut it straight down the middle. How can you know who you are without splitting yourself into two? Hypothetical. I'm going to let you sit on that one while I continue on. Some of us have some confusion about who we actually are in front of others. Now, by the way, this is an interactive show, so if you're in agreement, disagreement, whatever, put them comments in the comment section down below. And by the way, don't forget to actually subscribe to our YouTube channel, SL Models and Talent Agency, LLC. It is going to be up and popping there on the YouTube channel for sure. We're already heading to 1,500 subscribers. We might be able to reach that come Wednesday night. Come on, folks, let's do it. 1,500. Could we do it? All right. So let me ask you a question. Is it God punishing you, or are you punishing yourself? Let me rephrase that question. Let me actually talk about that a minute. You're so concerned about why it is that you're hurting this way, you're hurting that way. Why is it that this is like that? So I don't understand how I ended up like that. And why is it that I have to do all this pity party nonsense? Are you hearing me? The pity party. Right? But God says, I've given you everything. Why aren't you using it? Oh. Now, some of us will try to play this game, okay, and try to say, God or no, God, we're going to just put it to you this way. We'll end up playing this stupid game, right, where it's like, oh, you gave everything to me, then why is it that this is happening? Again, it is about what you are doing. If your motivation is not actually in the right frame, you're not aligned. Remember that word, alignment? Yes, that's the word. That is one. If you want to talk about mindset, we need to talk about the aligned mindset, because that is where character development is focused on. The aligned mindset. Are you hearing me? We all have minds. Yes, we do. And we all going to have all kind of different mindsets. But in order to really know what is in the mind and how to be purely motivated, you have to know where you are aligned. So how do you do that? That's a question, right? I'm sure y'all are wondering that. If God gave me the GPS, why is it? Can you imagine that, right? Okay, we all have GPS on our phone and we just like, oh, I know where that is. And then you just decide not to use a GPS. And then what you thought it wasn't it. And now you have to go, you're running in circles, right? I'm pretty sure we've all been there. Even before the GPS came out, you were probably riding in circles, turned down the wrong road, hitting into dead ends, blockades, everything else, right? But somebody with the right alignment with their mindset said, we need a GPS. I'm tired of getting lost. And then they come out with this idea and they're like, oh, this is going to help other people. Let's go ahead. We're going to expand this to everybody else. So they are sharing their ability. Are you hearing me? So now we all have GPSs. But here's the real truth. The spiritual GPS is us. We already had the GPS. We're talking about God's purpose in your soul. But you have to actually be able to focus on the aligned mindset in order to achieve knowing that the GPS is going to work. Otherwise, it would just be a GPS sitting there with no function. Are you hearing me? It's like taking a book, leaving it on the shelf. It's the directions on how to put your, put a desk together. And you're sitting there for 2 months trying to figure out how to put that same desk together. But then you're looking on the shelf and you see the GPS, you see the manual, you know it's there, and you're still not doing nothing. But sitting there banging your head against a wall, trying to figure out how you're going to put this desk together. Some of us we take the manual and we throw it in the trash. Oh, I know how to do that. Some of us go and we just, again, it's like putting a book on the shelf and it just sits there and draws dust. Well, guess what? I have a secret for you. God says that if you cannot do the job, he was going to make the rocks and the birds cry out. Let me repeat that one more time. Okay. Let me repeat that one more time because I don't think it was loud enough. God said that if you cannot do his work, he will have the rocks cry out. So you're not going to put that GPS on a dusty shelf. No. God will find somebody else. Oh, yes. So that's how the functions of God's purpose and plan work. You have to, that doesn't mean that it stops there. That just means that the opportunity that you had went to somebody else. Let me give you a pure example of what I'm talking about. Yes, a pure example. It's not a sample. Okay, let's get this real. The pure example is that, let's use the Miami photo shoot. Okay, actually, we'll use a sample. Let's say you have the opportunity. Let's say that I told you, let's go and you could do it free of charge. All right. There is no expense to your pocket. Let's go, right? you know, or whatever date it is, right? To the Miami photo shoot. Everything is covered. Let's do this, right? And then you come to me talking about, see, I had to work, my leg fell off, my arm bent the opposite way, my mouth is glued shut, my ears are popping, and my nose is running. Well, you know, thank you for letting me know all these things that are happening. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. However, and believe me, sometimes I actually go the extra mile, and I should not have to do that. So I even go as far as sometimes asking if you need to go in the car with me. Oh my goodness. I mean, I'm dead serious with some folks. It's like I have to legitimately put a dog chain around them or something with the hook or something and say, okay, hey, I like this one right here. Come on, we're gonna do a Miami photo shoot. Well, as fun as that might seem, the reality is it could just be a dead shoot. What do I mean by that? Well, okay, I've gotten a photo shoot done. It might have not paid me nothing, but I got the photo shoot done. But then it ends right there. And it's like, what do I have to do? I literally have to drag it everywhere. Like when somebody's asking, do you want to be booked for this gig or that gig? I gotta turn around, I gotta pull you. So God says that he doesn't have that. That's not how that works. See, I I have been too nice. I really have been. And I think that it is time that Dr. Samuel Lombardo starts to show a little bit of tough love. And some of that tough love does include that I should not have to sit there. I'm not going to bug anybody. I'm not going to sit there and keep emailing. I'm not going to sit there and keep answering why you have to audition when you know, especially if you're going to try to tell me that you had experience, okay, in the industry and all that, you know, and then you're trying to finagle me into believing that you do, but then at the same time, you don't know why you have to audition. You know, so there's that. Now, understand this topic is going much deeper than this. So this is just the beginning of what I have to say, because then we have the other issue. Ooh, what is that issue? Well, I'm just taking a breather. I'm not disappearing or not, and I promise you that. See, God knows what purpose is for whom. The reason that we may not understand. Now, I'm gonna go into in the spiritual way, and then I'm gonna back it up into like real world experience. So in the spiritual one, the reason that we do not understand the actual blockades is because we are filled with everything else that is pushing us down. And I want to actually be very careful in saying that, but I'm very gracious to actually say it point blank. And that would be Lucifer's way of confusing you to your aligned mindset. There's a lot of confusion when you're being pushed in various areas. okay? And it causes the confusion. By the way, that is really where the definition on a psychological level is formed from. You actually have to get yourself aligned in order for you to mentally be able to know that you are stable. Some are skipping right past the GPS and they think that it's just straight up mental. It is not. You're mentally confused only because of the confusion that was set aside on the spiritual level. It's a much deeper misunderstanding in your persona, like who you are. So then that's when things like being two-faced, talking behind people's back, gossiping, well, they both mean the same thing, talking mean, always being negative about others or yourself or your job or anything. That's where those things are actually derived from, your spiritual persona. You have something took you out of alignment. See, some of us actually know what the purpose and the plan is, and will still sit there and allow Lucifer to have free game. I'm here to tell you, the party is over on the inside. It's time to get some cleansing done. Clean out that closet. I'll give you an example. If there are people out there, right, this is one way that you can clean out your closet to the people of where you can start showing your love and audacity for them. Instead of throwing your old clothes in the trash or trying to make $1 on them, because everybody's trying to do that, you will notice that there are people that actually need those clothes. See, people frown on volunteerism. I'm actually I'm a big fan of volunteerism. The issue is that the reason that we are not dealing with volunteerism is because we allowed our confusion and disalignment to control what we are actually doing. And therefore, what is the excuse we always hear? We don't have time to do free stuff. Or why am I going to pay to do this? Or why am I going to, why do you want me to do it like that? It's like you're literally not even showing the true motivation that is behind what you're doing. But yet you're trying to, at the same point, show a reputation that you can do that same thing. Well, again, unfortunately, that's a term called two-faced. And, you know, you don't want to be around two-faced people. You want to be around those who are credible, who has a reputation, who actually knows what they are doing. They're not afraid to go and help somebody when they need help. They're not afraid to talk to somebody when they are down. They are not afraid to help a business that perhaps may be in need. You need a checkup, then the alignment will boost you up, and then that will check you up. That's what I'm talking about. I hope that you are hearing me tonight. Indeed, indeed, indeed. So how many of us would actually continue to assume the position of the aligned mindset. What are the steps to the aligned mindset? Well, the number one thing that I actually put even in my own paragraph of questions is motivation. Now, this is easier said than done, but while it should be easy, it can be difficult. Why? Because you first had to accept the fact that the old GPS no longer works, and you need to find the GPS that God has put to you. In other words, you can't use somebody else's. Are you hearing me here? You cannot pretend that you are going to be somebody else. Are you hearing me now? You cannot pretend that you have something that you do not have. Are you hearing me out there right now? You cannot pretend that because you have something or that you are big, that you overexert it. Are you hearing me now? That you cannot just pretend that because you have everything that you think it is up to you to decide what you're going to do with it. Are you hearing me now? You cannot even pretend that you know what to do with something that you have nothing to gain for. Do you hear me now? No, I am not pronouncing the words of the old Sprint commercial, okay? I am projecting to you the aligned mindset, okay? The idea of what is true love is the ultimate goal here. What is true love? Okay. Is it the love of money? What are you going to get out of that? You tell me. What are you going to get out of that? Because the more money you get, it more, how do I want to say this? I'm going to say it bluntly. Hallelujah. I'm going to say it so bluntly, but it is also going to be straight to the point. The more money you have, see, greed is actually not the real definition. It's actually the personality. It's about the purpose for that money, okay? What are you going to do with it? You're going to sit around with it on your lap? Come on now, I know you're hearing me. You're going to sit with it on your lap? What you going to do with the extra money? You're going to sit there and like go hop around from city to city, to state, and country to country? Come on now, you're hearing me out there with this. What are you going to do with that extra money? Let me ask you this, the purpose. What is the purpose of your momentum, your skills, your credibility? What are you going to do? I ask somebody to sit on your lap? What are you going to do? I ask somebody, hey, I think you're the one. Let's go. Let's get at it. What are we going to do here? What is this? Are you hearing me? What is the real motivation behind what you are trying to do? Now, everybody has this excuse that the more money you have, the more bills you have, and that you have to pay more things. Well, then let me ask you a question. Why do you have to pay more? Do you have to pay more? Let me ask you that. Do you actually have to pay more, or was you just being, or is it just a two-faced scenario of, well, I was going to do this, but it turned out that it ain't going to be that? Come on, are you hearing me? What's the real reason behind needing more money if you have the same ordeal going on a specific level, right? Now, I'm not talking about the fact of those who are legitimately lost. See, some of us that have a GPS that works should offer these other folks to come and actually follow along. But some of us, hold on now, that you only heard part of the message. Hold on, slow it down. Some of us think that because we have the GPS, it's all about me. I don't need to listen to you. Ooh, that's gotta irk you, doesn't it? Man, oh man, oh man. Some of us have a GPS, so we're just sitting there riding around and we don't even care who's lost. We could run right over the person that's running in front of us. Why? Because we have a GPS, but we're going at it on a blind view. Well, it's like we're going with our eyes closed. You're just too confident. Are you hearing me? No, it's not the Sprint commercial. Come on, folks. The big word just popped in my head. Expectation. We need to stop. Hold on. Let's put our brakes on. Oh man, I needed to stretch anyway. Wow. Some of us are taking this GPS and we just think that we're running with it with all these expectations, and that because it is normal to be like that, we expect it to be like something else, or because maybe in our minds something is not fair, so it should be definitely like something else. Some of us might just flat out just have a GPS that actually they thought was theirs, and they're running off with somebody else's. Well, let's go ahead and let's dive into each of these GPSs. Now, one with the high expectations is really concerning to me, because actually, if you think about it, the more that you are expecting something, the less of a motivation you have. It's almost like the more that it happens, and then you're saying that it's going to be like this, you expect it to be like that. And if it's not like that, then you're going to go on a war tantrum. You know what I'm talking about. Hear me now. You know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, then let's stop playing dumb. I am here to tell you that expectations equals a malfunctioned alignment. Well, what do you mean by that? A malfunctioned alignment is something, let's imagine this for a minute, that you're taking your car to get it worked on. You expected the car to be done the way it was, because you hear something scratching at the bottom. You thought it was that alignment that broke the car, but what you didn't realize is that something that you had actually put on the car 2 weeks ago got interfered with the alignment that was actually taking place. So the alignment was good. The malfunction was what you put in addition to. Are you hearing me? That's what expectations does. Okay, when you're supposed to have an aligned mindset, the idea is that, you know that something is going to happen with whatever situation. But if you're expecting something else and that situation doesn't happen, You're going to get upset thinking that the person that got involved or the other person involved or the other thing, it only irks the nerves more than actually, and some of you just are like, I don't care about this GPS. It is what it is. Well, you know what that is? Reciprocal. Let me slow down a minute. What that actually really is, and this is psychological, it's called reciprocal disaligned anger on a spiritual level. Because what it is that your anger is only calmed by your expectation. It is not calmed by the alignment of your mindset. So you only expect something and it is what it is and that is it. You don't care about anything else that happens around it. If that is you, psychologically speaking, okay, you need to be reciprocated to the aligned mindset. For some of this to actually happen, it requires very good coaching to be able to determine the scenario. But it doesn't necessarily mean the mental ward. The mental ward is definitely not even in the definition on a spiritual level, unless you have this term, what I call the sleeping disengagement. If you have the sleeping disengagement, then it's time for the actual mental ward. Well, I don't have time to get into that right now on this subject matter, but yeah, sleeping disengagement. Okay, it is a, how do I want to say that? The sleeping disengagement is basically a person with no character and only functions exactly straight in front of them. Half the time they're basically blinded. They may see other things and everything else. So I'll get there because there are situations. But what I will tell you is that if you don't get on the right path of aligning your mindset, you could fall into sleeping disengagement. And that's what I'm trying to work on right now as far as this goes. And then we're going to wrap it up into the industry and why it's important for SLMTA, just in that perspective, for you to be able to do something about it. All right. So do some of us have a hard time accepting direction? Oh, no, I'm not talking about you write a set of directions down and say, here you go, this is what you want to do. No, I'm talking more along the lines of constructive criticism. I'm talking about the concept of, now understand this because there are a lot of confusion about constructive criticism and actual destructive criticism. Constructive criticism have something that backs it up. In other words, you're not just saying, oh, your shoes look bad, go and do something about it. No, you're basically, with constructive criticism, you would want to say, you know, look at these shoes here. They are the same ones as what you are wearing. And I bet you anyhow that if you do this, because it happened with me, that's how I got my shoes shined up. If you do this step, okay, you would be able to have your shoes looking just like that. So now you're actually showing them something that is resulted, but you're also showing them another example with you that actually that is constructing. In other words, it's not even about the criticism, it's about the credibility of what it is that you actually know that results into something. Destructive criticism does nothing but cause more of a disalignment, the reciprocal disalignment to the mindset. It doesn't do anything. It stops you. Oh yeah, if you want to know how to stop, I'm going to tell you right now the quickest way you can stop destructive criticism. Tell them they're garbage. I guarantee you everybody's going to run. It don't matter if it's destructive or not. If you're telling them that they're garbage, they ain't going to amount to nothing, they're going to run. And if anything, you are held responsible, according to the word of God anyway, for projecting that kind of an image. When that same person is created in the image of God as well. So that means it doesn't leave you or I out of it. So if I'm thinking that you are nothing and become nothing, then I'm basically saying in a whole nother language, I am basically saying that God is nothing. Because God puts every person in front of you. So if you're going to question any ability, then you're actually going to be questioning God. What you need to do is let God handle the judgment, folks. Let God handle the judgment, folks. Hold on, wait a minute. Let God handle the judgment, folks, so that you can go ahead and get yourself aligned to your mindset. Because you are just as guilty the minute that you say that than the person that you think you're saying it to. So don't go down that road. There are some people that don't like how I speak very fluently, bluntly, and I've noticed that, and that is fine. It's one thing to just go ahead and click a black button and pretend that you don't hear me. It's another thing to realize that this day is coming for us to realize what is going to happen. See, you can click the black button. You know, I've clicked the black button a few times. Let me tell you about GPSs when you click the black button. See, some of us think, oh, these GPS, they don't work. They're worthless, you know, and then you just throw them out into the trash, right? Yeah, they're just trash. Well, our spiritual GPS, folks, God's purpose and plan. Oh, yes, for your soul. That's not trash. And every time that you end up with expectation, so in other words, do not confuse expectations with experience. Oh, well, I had experience. I know it was like this, it was like that, and it should be like this. No. Experience is what the GPS gives you. Not everybody is going to experience the same thing. So come on now, you got to hear me on this. Come on. Okay, not everybody is going to experience the same thing or the same way that you experience it. And some people, you need to help them to experience it. It is the expectation. So when I hear somebody trying to tell me, when I hear somebody trying to tell me, I close myself in. And, you know, in my experience, you know, I've had all this happen, I had all that happen. You know, this is the way that it's supposed to be. Oh, really? Do you think that the same way that you met your love of your life is going to be the same way I'm going to meet mine? Come on, folks. Come on. Let's get real. That's just talking in fantasy. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to tell you that right now. You're talking in fantasy. I'm going to tell you straight up, and I'm going to be very real, all right, that I will not be finding my person the same way that other people think that I might be finding my person. In fact, I kind of found my person anyway, but that's my little thing. I'm not going to sit there and say that the same way that I found whatever, you're going to find that same way. Let me give you a good example. It's the same example as driving down the road and you have the parallelism, right? Well, just because you're driving down your road does not mean that my road is going to be the same way. No, I might be turning a curve before you do. And if you don't see the curve, then you're going to start going, oh, listen to that. You're going to sit there and blame the curve for hitting you instead of you hitting the curve. Why? Because your mindset is not where it's supposed to be. It's going to be something else. It's not going to be the other thing. No, we got to blame it on that. We can't blame it on ourselves. No, I have the expectation I'm not supposed to hit the curve. So the curve hit me. Hear me out. Come on now. Well, you hearing me? Come on now. I'm being serious. All right. The tree in front of me. I ran into the tree. That would be the honest person. The person with expectation. Well, the tree knows not to be in front of me. The tree hit into me. Well, folks, it's all called a delusion. It's called delusionary thinking. Okay. And what delusionary thinking is when it comes from the expectation. We expect that this particular situation is supposed to be a specific way. And if it is not, then that is the blame. Okay. What is the difference between wisdom and knowledge? And actually, this is pretty simple if you want to talk about it in the perspective of the spiritual perspective. But really, knowledge is experience and what you have seen from your learning experience. Whereas wisdom is what you're getting from others. In other words, you may have a GPS that is saying there's an accident up ahead, and you would be prepared to stop. But the other person would ignore that GPS and keep on going and plow into everybody. Well, when they plow into everybody and they start realizing that they were wrong in what they did, that's an experience. That's a lesson. They experienced it. The wisdom is a person that actually sat there patiently waiting for the blockade to get out of the way from that accident. So are you the one that would recreate accidents when you know that there is an accident in front of you? Or would you actually slow down and wait for them to clean that accident up? Come on now. You tell me which one you are. We're not even on the topic of love. We're not even close to love yet. We are only at the topic of experience, wisdom, and knowing how to get our minds aligned. Because if you don't have a right GPS, you don't know where the love is. Although I will give you a hint, it's all around you. Come on, folks, come on. You know what I'm talking about. But if you can't see it, then obviously that wisdom is not there. You're only going to have you will have the knowledge. You may even have the book knowledge. Okay, now I read a book, I wrote a book, I saw the book, I hear the book, whatever you're doing with books, okay? You might have every book in everything, including the Bible. You could have the knowledge, but if you still cannot see, the wisdom just went wiped away. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. All right, maybe I'll just take my GPS and send it somewhere else. See, and also here's another thing about love. Love doesn't have to be acceptable. Oh no. Love has already been accepted. The problem is you hadn't received it. That is then going into a whole nother topic. You're ready to hear what I'm about to tell you? And this is actually going to probably step on some toes, but don't worry. There are doctors out there that can heal that up, okay? But let me go ahead. The only way the doctor can heal you is when something happens. So I'm about to do something that could hurt a little bit. Your toes are going to be a little numbed here for a minute. But that concept is actually considered phonyism, or in other words, a fake person. Uh-oh. You're trying to tell me I'm fake? What? No way. I have 19 million people following me, and you're telling me I'm fake? I don't care. You can have the world following you. But if they're following you and they're all just as confused as I am, you're fake. I'm going by the definition. Again, I'm working on the spiritual end, and I'm bringing it up into reality. On a spiritual level, until you get yourself aligned correctly with your mindset, without expectations, with no excuses, and the experiences to visualize the wisdom, okay, because that's the true term here. Visualize your wisdom. Then you will become the true person that you are. Then for those of you that know karma and chakras and all that, then we could start talking about how eeny, meeny, miny, mo, we can actually start hitting the tigers and letting them go. Why? Because we have the processes to do that. But without having this other stuff first, there is no way you're going to just continue down the same path that you are already on. Are you hearing me? Come on now. Now, it's easy to turn it off, or push a block button. If you ain't hearing me, you're doing one or two things. You're either choosing to ignore, or you're trying to come up with some other real reason behind why this doesn't make sense. I'm here to tell you, I don't care what sense there may be, except for the true sense. I didn't say 2 cents. I don't care for those either. I said the true sense. And the true sense is the spiritual alignment of the mind. I might be speaking as if very tough and overly confident, but I love each and every one. Everybody is a human being. I'm a human being. I'm not a puppet. I'm not just sitting here blah, 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 and throwing out words for 3 hours over nothing. This is called character development. Now, some might utilize character development in the sense of focusing on, like in the industry, for example. So let me go ahead and actually give you a true sample of what character development is on a perspective of the entertainment industry. If you're going to come into an agency with the expectation that I expect you to do this, and that, and then I come to you and I tell you, nope, you're going to do this, and that, and then we will do this, and that, and you don't agree to it, we're right back to phase number 1. The spiritual disalignment of your mindset. Because you cannot just assume that everything is going to happen the way that you think it's going to happen. You cannot say that that what you know is all that you need to know. I don't even say that. I don't have time to be sitting there acting as if I would know everything. And I learned many, many things. I've learned many topics today. I have spoken with different artists. Some of them are younger than me. Some of them are older than me. And let me tell you something, okay? There's this other thing about respect. Respect is actually the golden token to the word love, because you actually kind of have to have the both. Now, the truth, okay, is the light, which is the centerpiece of the whole entire dialogue that we have between God and us as humans. The truth is the actual purpose. You're gonna know it. You're gonna know it quick too. I'll tell you that right now. Some of us learn quicker than others. It just depends on how many, some of us fail tests, some of us pass a test. All right. Some of us think that, oh, well, we just do the test again, it'll get better. No, the tests get harder. I've told you that last night. And by the way, just because you failed a test isn't necessarily, or you think that you just had enough just to pass it, it's like college, okay? In fact, it's probably even worse than college. See, in college, if you have failed a test, you have a chance to retake it. But if you only just barely pass, doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to get a test like that again. Are you hearing me? It doesn't necessarily mean that you will not get another test that is similar to the one that you have taken. You might even realize, because it has happened with me, okay, in the experience, I'm not saying that this will be the same for you, but let's just say that you are studying biology, and the difference between understanding the concepts of flowers and then like water or whatever, you may actually see that some of the same questions come up. Or like in another example, like health, the difference between radiology and I don't know, studies related to your heart versus studies related to your veins. Well, if you don't know what the veins are to your heart, then you're probably going to fail that part of the test right to the T. But if you already know about the veins and you know how they are connected to the heart, then it would be a no-brainer to figure out the function of the heart. it's just the truth. Some of us, we even take our own knowledge and we still don't even know what's in front of us. So just like in dead sight, I don't know how to explain it. You got to pray about it. Have your eyes be open. Ask God to give you the sight to be able to see. I'm not talking about the blind person. I'm talking about the sight that you are able to see in front of you, all these blockades, all these excuses, all these expectations. They are nothing. They are nothing in a conspiracy of things when you're talking about the concept of our alignment mindset. So character development, let me explain that. It takes a lot of time. I'm not the only one that mentions this part of it. It takes a lot of time, effort, ambition, motivation. It shows your integrity. It shows your ambition. It actually shows who you really are. And the thing is, there are many people, because I could sit on one side and they will probably, and some of them will just go with the easy route. I love this one. They'll actually go and say, well, look at yourself. And I would say, well, if I hadn't looked at myself, I wouldn't know what to talk about. Are you hearing me, folks? Listen to that. It's okay. If you're that type of person, say, look who's talking, then I'm going to tell you right now that if I didn't know what I was talking about, I wouldn't know what to look at. So that doesn't work. That comes out of that's almost close to your sleepy dreariness. So you need to fix that problem, because if that's everybody, then that means you're not going to get along with nobody. Because all you're doing is everybody is a judgment to you. And you don't even have expectation. That's the truth. That's that type of person. Okay, then you have the other one. So like, no, I really agree with you. I really do. And then it's like next minute, you can hear all speaking. I don't know what is. So in other words, let me make sure that I'm not going to keep talking and then this thing is messing up again. Okay. Well, I feel like I'm on and off. When I do these, when I actually do these, I can get a little bit excited. Okay, it looks like, but I am gonna slow it down. This might have to be a two-night interactive show, because this is a very, very big topic, character development. Anyway, where I left off at until I wasn't sure what had happened with the internet and that kind of thing. Um, the main concept is, instead of, because see, judgmental excuses, that's what they actually really are. The difference between someone actually judging somebody and a judgmental excuse is that the excuse gets them out of the situation that they know that they're in, but would rather actually blame you for it. It's a concept of like the curve. Okay. So you're riding up on the curve, but you'd rather blame that the curve was the thing that hit you rather than you riding on the curve. Well, that, when you say that, it's a judgmental excuse, because you're trying to get out of the actual fact that that's what it was, that you were the one that actually hit it, not it hitting you. Well, on a spiritual level, when people are saying, oh, you're judging me and this and that and blah blah blah, what that is it's a judgmental excuse, because you don't have anything else but to be able to blame another person for something that basically are facts about what legitimately happened. Like I said, the only thing that you can really do is allow them to have the excuse, and that they can hide and look like one thing to one person, but you already know what the real thing is, and all you're doing is waiting for that change. So it's easy to sit there and pretend that you are somebody that you're not by looking like something. It's what happens in on a continuous basis, if that is what I'm trying to say. And therefore, when you start bringing up the facts, like, and I'm going to give you a good example of what I mean by a judgmental excuse. Let's say that there's a camera, okay, that spotted you speeding. And let's just say that I saw you speeding. All right. So I see you speeding on the road, and then all of a sudden there's a yellow light, okay, or there might be whatever the case may be, and then you're actually making the go because, quote unquote, your expectation is that you're going to have the right of way. But then when the other person goes and wants to rush a left, they basically have the same concept. The only difference is it was who was going to beat the red light before the other one. That's what it really boils down to. Well, the fact is, who actually hit into who? So if I'm a witness, I'm basically going to say that I saw this hit that. The camera is going to actually show what it really is. But does that mean that I made a judgmental excuse? No, the judgmental excuse is the one that got hit would blame the other person for actually trying to lie out of the fact that they should have not made a left when they shouldn't have. But they turned around and decided to do it anyway because their expectation was that they had it right away. They were just beating it before the other. And now everybody is going to be lying out of their behinds about, well, this one was speeding, that one was doing this. But here is the real thing. The real thing, okay, is that you made a left and that person hit you, point blank. That's not a judgment. That's actual fact. Judgmental excuse, though, is a person that's lying out of their teeth out of the whole entire mess to make it look like, and to turn the story around and make it sound like something else. That's what the judgmental excuse is. But the real judgment comes when the judge says, well, according to the witness and according to the camera, you were at fault, not the other person. And that's it. Point blank. There ain't nothing you can do about that. Unless you can try to edit the video. Good luck. Well, that is a point that I'm getting at. It's much more harder when it comes to, like, you know, for example, let's say I don't know, we'll use this one. Okay, this is a little bit difficult, okay, because you'd have to really do things. Let's say that you never cursed in your whole entire life, right? And believe me, this is a difficult one because everybody wants to try to irk anybody's feelings or whatever. So you never actually curse a day in your life or whatever, right? And because you say one word because somebody actually got angry, all of a sudden they're going to blame you because you actually said this as the reason why they actually cursed you out when they've already cursed you out from the get-go. Well, you wouldn't know that. You're the person that's going to be dealing with the judgmental excuse of the person that's trying to look righteous. Oh, well, I didn't do that. They irked me on doing that. And you know what I'm talking about. If this is somebody that you know, let them know that they're actually heading down the path of sleepy disengagement. Because what happens is the more that you believe your own lies, the more delusional you actually get. And it becomes a problem. Now, with sleepy disengagement, when I say disengagement, what it means is that you can't engage with something that's sleeping. You can't. They're asleep. They don't know what's going on. They're just totally out of it. It don't matter what you try to say. That delusion will be there. That's it. That's what it is what it is. So the only thing that you can do is just be like, okay, I have to. In your own words, you're just going to have to say, I'll pray for you and keep it walking. Don't even worry about it. This happens in families. This happens with friends. This happens with spouses, everything. See, a lot of people, you know, this is a very, very terrible situation. These judgmental excuses are actually worse than the emotional and the spiritual excuses that are out there. See, a lot of people will like to put spiritual into it to try to make it look like it was actually something else. And then that turns into a disillusion. Oh, yeah. I mean, you don't even know if you're actually hearing a message from delusion, or if you're hearing it from the concept of an aligned mindset, unless you actually know discernment. What is discernment? We're gonna go open up the dictionary for a moment. The Bible has all kinds of things about discernment, but let me go ahead and just give you oh, hold up the other way. Discernment is actually a higher level of judgment, meaning that if you have discernment, and actually God does allow people to have discernment, there's actually a spiritual gift on discernment. You know what? here's what you're not going to like about it. Are you ready to hear the definition? The faculty of discerning, discrimination, acuteness of judgment, and understanding. Oh my God, what did you just say? I don't like that word. Oh no. The faculty of discerning, discrimination, acuteness of judgment, and understanding. Well, let's see what discerning is. I'm sure it's got to be the verb of the. So here we go. To perceive by the sight or some other sense, or by the intellect, see, recognize, or apprehend. To distinguish mentally, recognize as distinct or different, discriminate. Folks, what are we talking about here? Now, I don't know what definition of discrimination the world falls into, but what discernment says is that if it's not following in the alignment of the mindset, it doesn't matter who you are, it is still to be discriminated, okay, from the actual problem for a solution. So if you're only going to have a judgmental excuse to say that it's easier for me to say that you're discriminating, then you're only fixing half the problem and none of the other solutions are there to fit in. So guess what? What it really means to me on a spiritual level is that as long as it's being discerned with the mindset of an aligned person, then you need to know what it is and why it is to be discriminated. Now, I'm not talking about race, sexuality, orientation, ages, all of that. What I'm talking about is discriminating against the expectation, the disillusionment, the disengagement, against the fake phony, against the fake famous. We are discriminating against what is not aligned to the mindset that God has provided for us. And it doesn't matter who you are. You would have the authority to be able to discern those solutions. So some of us, again, we're sitting there in that chair. We're sitting there in that chair. And we're hearing, so because God says to discern, so that means that it's okay to discriminate. That's not what I said. But because you're confused with other things, the word discriminate it has a negative connotation to it. Let's put it that way. When in actuality, discernment is discrimination. It is to discriminate against what is not real, really, for you in your life. So if you are against people that are racist or whatnot, I mean, another way of putting it is instead of discriminating against a person because of who they are, you would be discriminating against the actions that take them away from who they are. Are you hearing me? That is what discernment is. But how do you distinguish between the two? How can you do it without somebody being like, oh, you're racist or whatever? How do you do that? What are 2 steps? If you don't have the gift of discernment, then you probably don't even want to even try this, okay? Your best bet is to probably sit in the chair and make a prayer and ask God's guidance in their heart. And maybe see if somebody would actually come to them to speak to them, because God has a purpose and a plan for everybody. Amen. That's what this is about. This is the character development that I'm talking about, folks. There is no pulling anything. I might be pulling teeth, yeah, but I am not going to ease down on God's purpose. Not that GPS. No, that GPS is important. Do I like when people are discriminating off of judgmental excuses? No, I do not. No, I do not. Oh, I don't think you could do that. Anytime you hear things of like think, maybe, or should, would, could, any of those like thinking words, you might want to stay clear away. Because it's like, if you're going to hear something like, oh, I don't think that this is going to work, or I don't think that this person actually can do like this kind of a job, or I don't think, or maybe we should, or could we, maybe we would, or if we should, or if we could and would. If all this stuff is coming up, these and ifs or buts, what ifs, thinking, if you got to sit around and think, it is very symptomatic. You have to stay clear away. Why am I saying that? In this segment of character development, when we are actually focused on, folks, okay, is the mindset. How you perceive a person. So, no, you should not be discriminating the person or even retaliating in racism or against any person for orientation, race, religion, or whatever. But what you should be discriminating on is the action that would be taken place that was not fit or aligned to God's GPS, okay, to the GPS, God's purpose and plan for your soul. Who says that they have the authority? Yeah, I'm going to throw this in here. Yes, because there is somewhat of a little bit of a victory for sure for some of those understand that. Who has the authority to say that I'm just going to go ahead and force karma onto someone, like either shorten someone's life or cause a reason for that shortness of breath or whatever the case is? Who has the authority to do that? The only one that could do that is the GPS. So if you don't own that GPS, which you don't, then you have no reason to have any authority over that. How about that one? Give that one a round of applause and sit on it for a minute. Here's another concept. We're going to slow this thing down. Oh, yeah. We got to bring it down, okay? We're going to bring it down to the human level, all right? Let's get out of the spiritual level. We're going to go bring it down to the human level. The minute that you sit there and point that gun, pointing the gun, you're still thinking. And what I told you was thinking you should stay clear away from, right? So if you have the gun and it's pointed, that is the moment of thinking. So if you're going to stay clear away from that, what I am actually really telling you is put the gun down. Because you have no authority to whatever motivation whatever excuse, judgmental excuse, emotional excuse, whatever the case may be, you have no authority to create the karma in someone's life. You have to allow the GPS to handle what will happen with that. And if nothing did happen, like I said with Jonah, okay, what was that, a week ago I mentioned that in one of my other interactive shows, that Jonah was expecting God to destroy the city of Nineveh. And God said, well, you did an awesome job. You witness and people love each other. Everybody is peaceful. Why would I be punishing something when you've actually did what was told? I mean, but he was still expecting a punishment. I mean, really? Jesus says, my blood. If this ain't powerful enough, I don't know what is. So what I'm saying is anytime you even think about a gun, unless of course you need something to eat, run away from it before it catches you. Because again, like I always say, two wrongs don't make a right, you know? And two rights don't make a wrong. You can only decide. Here's the funny thing too. What is right is already right in front of you. You hear me? Listen to this very closely. I'm going to say it nice and slowly. What is right is already right in front of you. What is wrong, you are only going in reverse, which means that you had to go and loop around, waste more time to decide on a wrong action. That just doesn't make any sense, folks. So I'm telling you, it doesn't make any sense. And then in the end of the day, okay, now I'm preaching on both sides of the levels here. At the end of the day, you end up where you've wasted both time and money. Why? Because at the end of the day, if you kill somebody, of course, you have some kind of a sentence, right? That's just the truth. That's the reality to the situation. But if you would have listened, or like, I don't know, some of us got something in our ears or something. I don't know what's going on there. But if you clean the ears out, or at least listen deep within yourself, see, anger is a bad problem. Anger is not the solution to anything. Anger just kind of puts you right into, I feel bad for those. That's why I call them sleepy heads, really. But the sleepy disengagement is the ones that actually belong in a bunker. They're the ones that it's going to have to take them to be locked up, sentenced, or in a what do you want to call it? Mental ward or whatever you want to say it, like a mental hospital or whatever, because of the fact being that they have to have somebody else tweak up the GPS. It's a broken system. They're asleep. Even though they're walking, they're asleep. They're basically like the sleepwalkers of the actual concept of the world. And so there are rightful ones that are sleepwalker. So what I would call them sleeping disengagement that actually belong in these areas, where there are others that are in there probably because either a judgmental excuse, or they may be actually in there because of the wrong discernment. The truth of the matter is that one or the two options. doesn't make it right. And the only way that that is going to be a proven point is the behavior that is shown within the walls. But if you don't have discernment and you're not able to figure out your aligned mindset, then that's probably not even an area that you even want to focus on working at. Because here's the issue that's been going on. There are different types of psychological studies that show about certain things about a murderer versus someone who accidentally pulled a trigger, right? Well, even if it was accidental, it still caused a issue. But then you have one that actually, that, you know, they know what they're doing, and their expectation is to actually kill the person. That's not good. So that person had a discernment of hate. Discernment of hate is actually, it's not pleasant to the eyes. And unfortunately, your credibility is for what you do. So if you're that type of person that hates a person just because, and then you're going to find that reason to kill a particular person or that person, if you hated them that much, that is a disengagement. Where is the love in that? There is no love in that. The only love that you have is a love for farsightedness with very cloudy lenses. And I'm always saying that to be extremely careful, because who knows? Maybe somebody can come out clean out of this whole situation after hearing the message tonight. But there could also be somebody that doesn't like it and would literally use judgmental awards for their own expectation to try to discern a false message. When I'm here to actually tell you, let me explain to you what I just said. Everybody wanted Jesus dead at the time that Jesus was planned for crucifixion, right? It was like, free Barbardus, free him, kill him, kill him, kill him. Well, everybody voted to do exactly that. So Jesus died on the cross, but here's what nobody understood out of the whole entire message when God sent Jesus to actually explain it. They didn't realize that Jesus had the power over the dead. Amen. Let's just put it out there like that. But let's go ahead and kill him anyway. It gets him out of our hair. Well, here's the question. Did you really think you were going to try to hide the GPS? Come on now. Did you really think you were going to try to hide the GPS? Yeah, you might have killed him for a few minutes. But he rose up from that grave, and you're the one that's going to be sitting there in judgment when he comes back to claim his people. And I hope that you're on the right side of that judgment. That's what I pray, that you're on the right side of that judgment. Don't be the person like, oh, man, no. Oh, no. Do not be that person. I know that there's a celebration tonight. I do know that. And I understand that there were a lot of lives that were hurt over the situation that went on. And this isn't the only situation with racism things to that nature. But what I will say is that while he had done a very bad deed, I think it's now time to say, we got to clear the surface and actually ask for God's guidance to be able to heal this sleeping and disengagement that got put into, whatever the indictment was. I'd have to, I've been following through, but there were things that I was doing, taking notes and stuff like that, that I wanted to stay focused on what God's purpose and plan was for tonight. But I did hear, because some folks are totally lost about this. And I thought that this was very interesting that this would show up on a night, because I plan all of my talk shows at least a week in advance on each of the titles. And it's funny how this topic came up on a day like today that had revealed the sentencing, or the indictment, should I say, of the individual police officer. However, there were a lot of those. This is where we act before we are supposed. Our expectations are just out of whack. Instead of actually figuring out and waiting for the indictment, some of us were already getting overexcited, right? I'm sure we actually are, you know what I'm talking about. And while some of this could have calmed itself down, at the same time, the real question really is, do we have sleeping disengagements that are involved with those who are actually just exhausted? See, there's a difference between someone that is exhausted and then they finally realize, oh, yes, there is some kind of freedom, they are seeing that. But then you have the sleeping disengagements where this is an excuse to say, okay, well, now we have another reason to fight, because that one didn't get that one. Oh, this one didn't do this, and that one, and here we go. Well, right back at it again. Judgmental excuses, when technically all it really is just an excuse to turn around and continue the bad disengagement. Well, sleeping disengagements are people that really don't even give a crap what I'm saying. So they're just going to go ahead and do what they're doing. I know that already. So what happens? What I'm talking about is the difference between those who protest and those who are rioting. That's what I'm basically talking about. It's not a judgmental excuse on my part, but I am discriminating on the fact that rioting is very dangerous and that two wrongs don't make a right. What I really like is the fact that we have the freedom to actually protest, and that black, white, brown, and all of us should be working together to accomplish that goal. So that is what I actually would like to simulate, okay? But we do have these sleeping disengagements out there that just think that there's a judgmental excuse for every little thing, and it will just be another reason for them to do something else and another thing to do another thing. And if that doesn't work, they'll just wait for the next protest and try to manipulate the protest into an actual riot, when in fact, it's not even that. It's those who have the wrong discernment versus those who are just trying to get a message out there. Does that make sense? I mean, and I'm just basically showcasing the reality to the actual problem. But the thing that I could tell you as a human, I love both of them. Do I like what the one did over the other one? No, I do not. But the only way that you're going to focus on the issue is through love. If you can show that the love is there, then that is going to fight any battle. You know, they say that love can kill. Oh, yes. I can almost guarantee you, and I'm just saying that, if everybody would have turned around, think about this a minute. Look at Judas. Yeah, Jesus did not say, and I think this is going to be interesting. This is going to be an interesting judgment for sure when it comes to Jesus coming again. It's probably a question that I would like to know. But Jesus loved Judas enough that he didn't have to go after Judas before he died. He just died for him, like he died for all of us. All right. But where love kills is the fact that Judas couldn't handle it. Despite what he did and whatever transformation he had, instead of transforming for the better and actually be able to share to the world, you know, he hung himself. I mean, it's a terrible thing. And yet, Jesus still loved him anyway. At the very least, I would have to assume that when the day comes on the second, or however you want to call it. Okay. Let me just say this very simply. There is a time where those who follow Jesus reigns for 1,000 years. The New Jerusalem is created, right? And then there are those during that time, there will be those of the wicked that then get resurrected. At that time, I believe that the bare minimum Judas would realize exactly what had happened. I don't think that God would actually end up keeping them burning, because a loving God will not make someone actually suffer. However, the wages of sin is death, and therefore that judgment still has to take place, whether you want to believe it or not. So the only one that I believe is going to have a hard problem, which is why they say he will burn forever and ever and ever for eternity, is the only one that does not seem to let go of the past and continue to try to fight against God, and that's Lucifer. Even in the fire, he could be in a fiery fire. He can lie to us, and then we could eventually realize that that's Jesus, and then God would just end our torment. But it only makes Lucifer that much more jealous. So I believe that instead of it being recreated in heaven, I believe he's just going to be sitting there trying to do what he can, but he's not going to get anywhere because the fire, the light of God is too strong. It's not going to be no longer welcome. That's how I actually see that ending with the whole eternal fire versus what others are preaching about it. Now, there's all kinds of interpretations. And I can't say that one is going to be right over the other, but it would be hard for me to believe that a loving God will allow someone to be tormented for eternity, unless you are that type of person that does not believe that that is God. I mean, I don't know what to tell you at that point. You know, and at that point, there's only one judgment, and that is that you were right or you were wrong. So you would know where you were right or wrong. So yeah, so tonight I think I'm going to slow down because tonight is a two-phased, excuse me, explanation of the character development. And what I was talking about tonight was more focused on mindset, okay, as far as the character development on a spiritual level, aligning yourself up with your mindset so that you can free yourself. See, you should be able to know how to free yourself from the other situations that are holding you down. I think tomorrow I am going to go to the next level and actually talk about the action plan and how it fits, like how to develop who you actually are. How do you understand that GPS? Because what's really important here is understanding why it is that people will see you as a certain thing. Now, I want to add this to tonight's discussion. Just because I may say that you look like a model does not necessarily mean that you would be a model. Okay. And I would know that from the perspective of the person, of whether or not they are easily able to accept and become coachable. This is where the agencies must understand the person. I know that sometimes we would like to have more people, but sometimes we just need to stop wasting time on people that are not serious. It is true. We need to focus on the people that are really serious. These are the people that actually are aligned to this business, and they will naturally have it because God is going to make it fit. It will align to them. But again, it's the same way as what I've been preaching and talking about for weeks on end now, that you cannot force karma on a person. Well, you cannot pretend that they are aligned to something that might not fit their GPS. So just let it go. Keep it moving. Don't even like preach about it unless it is something that you want to give to explain who you are or what your company represents. So that's the only reason why I spend so much time on these topics like that. So because I'm basically preaching that I don't want to waste time with people that are not aligned to this. But it takes real actual discernment. So yeah, it's one thing to say that you want to give everybody a chance. And not anybody and everybody could do it. But it's a whole nother thing. The reason that they either leave after a month or two or leave at all is because it's that alignment does not work. And there might be times where they're going to come in and then they go and then they coming back and then that might even happen. That's because they're straddling the fence. That's what that's called. At some point, you're either going to have to call the shots or they're going to have to. But you cannot waste time with people that don't take it serious. You just can't. And like I've learned that's not actually a wisdom scenario. Some of it is, but not all of it. This is knowledge that I'm sharing on this perspective because I've experienced it. But now I know what to look for. I don't have to keep sitting there dealing with the same scenarios. You know, just like those that are out there talking about, I need money and I want money or whatever. Well, the reason that you don't have anyone to support you with money is because there is nothing there that you're taking serious. You're asking for money, but what do you want with it? What are you trying to do with the money? And the reason that it looks scamish is because there's no credibility to it, especially if you're asking people that don't know anybody about anything. Believe me, I've learned that from experience as well. If everybody knew the thing about this, if Ford could do what SL Models and Talent Agency is doing, and then they decided that they were, and that it was a good program and that it was going to work. The reason that they would not even need to pay, have anybody pay for it is because the sponsors would be running after that because they see that they have stuff serious. So they could even have a Dreamers division, which I think they probably do. And if they wanted to train, they don't have to charge a model or an artist for it. Why? Because Macy's and all these folks, these are people that actually have done it. They're not just making up like stuff to show it, unless it's local. If it's local and you have the power to actually generate a lot of people into the building, that's one thing. But as a Macy as a whole, to talk to them and the directors, the director of marketing to convince them to sponsor, you'd have to have that credibility. I'm just excited that I'm at the starting point. Like I'm asking a few up and coming artists, some pro-Legion artists, as well as there is a celeb artist to help do specific things. I'm actually at now some of the for the mentorship program, some of them are actually doing it volunteers, some of them are not. But that's because they already have what they have going for them, that to hear about an agency that wants to take their people serious, so it's helping us to even realize if we have to pay anything at all. The only thing that we have to figure out about after that point is how we could get the sponsors to help for those who want to go to MAAI, the actual convention, because that would probably be the only thing left when this is all said and done. But we are developing relationships, collaborations, should I say, partnerships with a few, okay, and delving into what SLMTA wants to really be serious about. And that is what's going to establish credibility. And it's also going to be who is involved. It ain't just going to be made up names. I'm not going to sit there and be like, well, you know, John Smith, yeah, he's the blah, 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 blah. And then you're going to sit there and look all over Google to figure out who John Smith is. And it's like, now, I don't know who he is, but they're saying that, that he's a supermodel. Like, what is that? You know, it's like when you throw up some names, like actual names. You know, I've been actually following American Idol. No, I didn't say I'm a part of American Idol, so don't put words in my mouth because that's not what I said. But I did say that I have followed American Idol. And the reason is because I could see dreamers who, I could tell dreamers who are literally wanting to do that, and it's a thing, versus the person who is ready to take the next step when they say, okay, you're going to go to Los Angeles or whatever the next step is. So we have, I'm actually to the point where I'm literally actually following through with American Idol to see if I can contact those. So because maybe, you know, it's one thing to be like the top 10 in American Idol, and then some mentors might find them and then develop them more. But what about these other dreamers who actually have spent the time to wait for the audition? And I'm not talking about just some random person. I'm talking about an actual person that it only needs to be some tweaks, and then they can make it to the next American Idol and really make a hit. That's what I'm talking about. SLMTA could probably make that even happen. If I could get some credibility that, oh my God, you don't even know it. You don't even know it. And that's what it takes, but you have to be able to show some kind of credibility. You have to be able to show that there are some folks on the roster that are serious. That's why if you give me bedtime photos, I'm not posting them. You can't be featured that way. If you're going to give me butterfly photos, I can't do that. Okay, so you're with your significant other. That's not even a photo. If you're by yourself and it's a nice scenery or whatever, or you can actually give me some real actual model poses, we could talk about it. Then maybe a photo here, like if you're like with your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever, yeah, then maybe I could like maybe slip one in there. But that's not what I'm looking for. That if Calvin Klein never knew who you were and they wanted to see certain aspects of you, you need to be ready to get them pictures done. Oh yes, so that they will know. Sometimes they will tell us, like I'll have a portfolio. It happened to me already. Okay, where I sent a portfolio to a client and they said, well, so do they have anything like this? And when I go and I turn around and tell them, look, you have so much time to do this, this, and that. So that's what my reply was. I already gave you a portfolio. Why do I need to give you more pictures? Even though that I copied and pasted the actual client's message, they still had the nerve to disrespect me and the client about what it is. No, you do not have the authority to do that. If this is your mindset, leave it at the door. Leave it at the door. Or wait until you do the steps that I've talked about 2 hours ago in my message, and then come back. Some of you actually have an opportunity. You don't even know what it means to have a missed opportunity, do you? Let me give you an example of what I mean by missed opportunities, because I've learned this lesson too. An example of a missed opportunity is, let's say, and I'm only going to say this one time, so pay very close attention. Let's say that the agency was able to get you a pro bono photo shoot with a fashion spread for our Atlanta show, and that there were 15 clients and 4 national major agencies sitting there as this was all happening. And then they asked you about the photos and you said, no, I'm not taking no more. I've already done my portfolio with the shoot. How did you not know if we were not going to offer the opportunity for you to get the photo shoot? You were already there. The cameras were set up. I'm also talking about those, like, let's say, because it's happening right now as I speak. You are working with a film producer who actually has cameras there. And I'm giving you what a model pose should look like. And I'm expecting that those poses would look similar to that. Why are you going to ask me, why do I need those poses? When you're working in front of the cameras, ask somebody to pose you. I mean, understand that you have these opportunities available. Then here comes the final part that I'm going to leave you guys with. Then comes the blockades. So let's say in your mind, because again, this is another example. In your mind, you were like, yes, I'm ready for community stars. I want to go to MAAI. I'm ready to do all this, right? And then you actually take an investment to actually do it. And some major thing happens to stop you. Of course, we don't have any way to determine when that major thing is going to happen. But the truth of the matter is, are you finding out solutions? Now, some of you might already have the blockade before it started. What do I mean by that? Well, let's use this in the perspective of a relationship. Let's say that something happened in the relationship that you knew that it wasn't going to work anyway. And then all of a sudden, God says, this is going to be your way out. See, sometimes we're desperate for relationships that we don't actually realize that God has given us the opportunity to find the exit. So what do? We are desperate because we have the insecurity of, can we actually find someone that loves us? Well, I don't know. I mean, I've been down that road. Believe me, I've been down that road about 4 or 5 times. I don't know if the 6th would happen or if this will be real this time. I don't know. What I will tell you, though, is that when God opens the gates and actually allows and aligns the situation to happen, you'll know when it's time. But if you're telling me that you're being forced, or I'm feeling like you're forced, it's kind of like if it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, it must be a duck. Well, then I guess it must be forced. So what are you doing? Come on now. What are you doing? So how do you get out of that blockade? God might turn around and say, well, look, we're going to put you in a position where you're going to actually see the real true value of what this girl or this boy is. What do you mean by that, sir? Well, you know, this is not your lesson. This is going to be for him or her. I'm going to put you in a position where perhaps maybe you wasn't ready for an accident, but I'm going to create it. And then we'll use he, whatever, it doesn't matter. They will have to respond in a way that it would be. Now, here's where you need to focus. You need to have the discernment to know of whether or not that person is trying to find ways of getting money, and that's the only word in the conversation. Or if that person actually understands what happened and is wondering if you're okay. Because an accident can be serious. You don't know. I mean, there could be more problems than what they may think it could be. But they wouldn't know that. In their mind, they're just looking at like who could be at fault, and let's just make a memorandum for it, and then I'm going to go get some money out of the deal. And all this conversation is just blah, 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 blah. Well, I'm not going to go and just sit here and illustrate a whole scenario, but I think you know what I'm coming from. The point is that how you get out of the situation, it may be cheaper for you to actually get legal advice than to promise something that in the end you might find out that even though you might be able to skip out on what your goal is, that you may not even have the money to take care of the promise. And then you're in a worse shape than what you did in the beginning. What do I mean by that? Let's just assume that the only conversation is, well, I'm going to throw a number out there. I owe $15,000 on my car. So I let my girlfriend drive it. She crashed it. So now I'm going to try to see if I can get the other insurance company to pay my car off. Well, that doesn't work now. It's your fault. I found out that you're at fault. So now it's your fault. So I'm going to sue you for what the remainder is, since my business or my insurance company will only do so much. Guess what? That is a sure sign that while that conversation is going on, I could be losing a foot. I could have broken ribs. I could have had whatever. You don't even know what I could have had. All you're worrying about is who is at fault and how am I going to get money out of this situation. I'm here to tell you that is not any kind of a relationship. That is your opportunity. Get out of it, even if it costs you more than what you want it to be. If you're going to make any kind of a promise, make the promise to basically fix what had happened. So in other words, if it was the hood and a bumper, then fix the hood and the bumper and just let her go. Why? Because evidently, the truth of the matter is, now let's put me in this shoes. If I've given my girlfriend the car to run and they got into an accident and I didn't have insurance, it's my fault regardless. So I can't just go suing someone just because my insurance company won't pay and then they were found at fault. So because she was at fault, could I literally just turn around and just be like, yeah, I could do that? No. The point of me even bringing this up, let me just get straight to the point, is that sometimes we are too desperate in our minds and are afraid to lose what is in front of us. But the reality of the crash is that God is telling you that relationship was a blockade from the begin with. Okay, I had a scenario where I was forcing a relationship and fell and broke a bone to the middle finger. All right, while God has created a miracle where it healed in 2 weeks time, yeah, so now I hardly even needed any pills. I'm not kidding either when I say that. So this is a real experience I'm talking about right now. That was telling me, God was giving me a knot in my hand to remind me that my fall was to get me back up and to get out of the situation that I was in. Because even though that I was forcing in a strange way, I was also being forced as well. And the reason that I was being forced is because of the I had insecurities on one level while the other person was having insecurities in another level. And what causes that tension is the expectations, and they were at two different levels. So that relationship would have never worked even if I tried. And believe me, there was a lot of trying. It just never did. So the point that I'm getting at is that no matter what you could do, you can throw $20,000 on that car. It would be cheaper for you to just say, I am done, and get out of the situation before it gets even more expensive for you. Now, it's not easier said than done. Now, there are relationships where at the space of the moment, the person is upset. That is a different story. What I'm talking about is a person whose expectations, and you can tell right from the get-go, I'm telling you that. So both from knowledge and wisdom, I've seen this happen more and more and more, okay? Where it's always about how they're going to get something. They don't even care about what happened to you. Now, there are other ways of knowing karmic relationships as well, but I'm talking about where God literally puts a blockade and says, okay, I'm giving you the biggest hint right now that you need to get out of this. So if these kind of things were happening to you, then it's something that you may want to ask God's guidance to figure out if this reality is a truth for you, or if it's just something that you need to pray about to align your mindset to the relationship you have now. It could be either or, but there is no middle ground, because at the end of the day, they're either going to run from you or they will tie the knot with you. Some folks, well, I won't even go there. Some folks rush to tie the knot and don't even realize what knot they're tying, or they don't know how to tie the knot. Yes, I'm sorry if I'm stepping on some toes. That's just a quick little statement there anyway. But it is true. There are some that don't know how to tie it, or they don't even realize that the knot is too tight, and therefore it broke itself apart. One way or the other, it's just the reality is what is going to happen. And that unfortunately is not something that you cannot ignore. God's GPS. That's what all of tonight was about. And then let me see anything else. Okay, so to finalize things, in order to get out of a blockade, like using that example, in order to get out of the blockade, you're going to have to figure out where you fit in it. So if you understand, like, let's say, for example, using my example where the girlfriend realizes that she crashed my car and she wants to fix it, she could fix it and then just say, here's what it is. I don't think it's going to work out. And then she could explain to me why certain things wouldn't work out. It's something that you would have to accept, but if your expectations are much higher, where you're expecting somebody to pay something off, buy another thing, and do all this, you're going to be on a whole nother boat. You're going to be sinking real fast. So, that's just the point. So would I be happy if the person just if she just fixed the bumper? Sure. I'm not going to try to make an excuse to go and force somebody to pay something that it didn't have, especially if that kind of damage did not, total a car anyway. So of course, you're going to get people trying to stress you out, and then you're going to worry about certain things. Ignore the worries that are in front of you and understand that you have happy news coming. So if you are still heading down that path where you're like, this is a goal, I want to be known. I know I can do this. I want, you're serious about wanting to do that. Then you need to focus on you. Don't even worry about the other situation, because in the long run, regardless of the situation, if I didn't have insurance, that's on me. It doesn't even matter. You can offer to fix it and I should be fine with that. Why? Because it's my fault. I have to realize it was my fault. Okay. But if I cannot realize that, in the end of the day, you're going to probably be sitting there in the courtroom or whatever. But you know what? You've already did what you needed to do, and you've gotten your quotes and everything. So if they're trying to do whatever, it's just because it's Lucifer just trying to panhandle his way through, and it's not going to work. Essentially, what's going to happen at the courtroom anyway is I would be blamed for not having insurance, so that the insurance company could have fixed it. So if anything, to be honest, I could have been, she could have sued me for spending money on a vehicle that wasn't mine, that wasn't hers. You see what I'm getting at? All because of that, because that's actually more serious and it's more real than the fact of determining who is actually at fault. Because the courts could say that one's at fault, and it could have been the other way around. Even with the insurance companies, some of them would turn around and say all kinds of garbage. What you have to be careful of is, let's say I don't have insurance, and let's say that my girlfriend was found at fault, and then the girlfriend is found at fault. Well, it's going to try to sue liability insurance for something. You know what I mean? As long as I had liability, my insurance would end up paying for the other person's damages. But then I could turn around and be like, well, what about mine? You understand what I'm getting at? So minus this, because I know I'm going on a tangent now. Basically, what I'm saying, folks, is this: you cannot allow the worry of somebody else's dilemma to be on you. You have to, yeah, you drove the car. All right, using this as an example, you drove the car, that's okay, fine. But nobody was going to expect not having anything happen. It just didn't make any sense. But there will be people that will do that, and you have to step up your game and put your big boy or girl pants on and say it like it is, that you needed to make sure that your responsibility was there. Because regardless, if I had collision, the insurance company was either going to tell me it's total, or the insurance company would have paid for the damages. No ifs or buts about it. But I'm not going to sit there and blame somebody else for it and then turn around and try to get some money that's not even part of the program. It doesn't make sense. But that's what somebody would do. Okay, here's a better example yet. If you're not aligned with the relationship and it wasn't meant to be to begin with, you guys are going to have two purposes for the same reason. That's what I'm trying to get at. So right there, you should actually know, like when I fell down and this person knew that I fell down, it was always about whatever this person wanted. It wasn't about, oh, I'm sorry that your hand was broken or whatever. It wasn't anything like that. And then it was always continue what I wanted, this and that concept. Well, I'm here to tell you that it cannot be one-sided. It actually has to be, like between the both of you working as a whole, if the relationship is going to work. Well, that's the same way with a collaboration when it comes to business relationships. You got like two people that are becoming a whole. Well, you got to make sure that what you're planning to do in a business relationship benefits each other, not just one person. And it could be monetarily. It could be time. It could be volunteerism. But it cannot be just one-sided. Like, oh, it's me. It's all about me. This is what I want. You know what I mean? Type of scenario. But then and then ignore as if like and some people will come with it as, oh, I understand that there's a pandemic and all that, but still try to that's just what we call mental manipulation. Okay, it's like manipulating the process, but it still doesn't actually explain and why one is more important than the other. It should be equal. So let's say, for example, like if you already know, let's say you got discernment, you already know, well, not many people will be seeing this or whatever, right? We'll use a trivia game, for example. But you're expecting the agency to pay you $2,500. But I don't know that I would actually make $2,500. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just do it because that's what you want me to do. No, I'm probably going to say 500. And then if I actually make 5,000, then maybe I'll give you a plus up. That's how I do business. Why? Because I look at it as I do things without the expectation, where the expectations are set low. And then if I surpass them, then I'm able to do more than what I originally said I was going to do. But at least you got some kind of a base to play around with. So that's what that's why I negotiate the way that I do. But some people, they'll be like 600 is not enough to do that. And I'll be like, well, you might be expecting, I don't know what you're expecting. You tell me that you understand that it's a pandemic. You tell me that you understand that it's hard to make money these days, but yet the money problem is just you. It doesn't make sense. So that's why you want to make sure even with business relationships, you want to make sure that everything is absolute. That's why even when like, yes, the community stars program is 6,500. For some programs, it's 10,000, or yeah, 10,000, excuse me. But it's for the full year, and you're getting a full, like, verifiable educational program. You get to learn what you're learning in college on a much more quicker basis. Some of you probably don't even have to go to college for it because you're already being motivated through SLMTA during your younger years to start building your momentum up. We are actually going to start a new program, but I'm waiting for some results on that. So that is the Community Stars loan program, because what we were thinking about is if a certain percentage could be paid, the other can get rolled over to a second year, but with interest. Okay, and that's what we were thinking about doing. The problem is if you're not actually able to finish paying it before you actually walk, then you would not be able to get the certification until then. So you would be kind of holding yourself up, but at least you know why. And then you don't have to worry about, and what we would do is we would split it into 2 years worth of the same thing. So if you owed, say, $500 a month, it would be 250 for 10 months here, and then 200. It would actually be the remainder at an annual percentage rate of, I think it's like 12.99%. That's what we were thinking about doing, and that would be multiplied by 12 divided by what is left, and then that would be your payment. It could actually be higher than the 250 originally, only because of the interest that's included, but at least you're getting 2 year, so be able to pay it rather than one, and you don't have to pay 550. That's if you're one of them that can't get sponsors. I mean, all you really need, I'll be very honest, is 10 people to do $50 a month for you, and you'll actually have a $100 bonus every single month. That would be your credit. At the end of the year, you would end up with about $1,200 that we would send back to you as a credit. It would be like a refund. And the reason for that is because if you owed 500 and you got 10 people doing, well, 12, say you got 12 people or whatever, giving you $50 a month, you don't want to stop people from sponsoring you. So the only thing that could happen is that, and then of course, if you wanted it to sponsor the rest of your money for other people like you for the program to go toward the scholarship fund, then that's fine. Then we would do it that way. But otherwise, if not, we would send a refund to you if you had a refund at the end of the year. So we're trying to do everything in our power to actually tell you that there is an honesty to the program. The only other thing that you guys are probably waiting for is who is all going to be involved in it. Right now, we're actually working, tweaking a lot of stuff, because for the Community Stars program, we're going to start hiring in June for our August start date. But I need some of you to understand, okay, when I say hiring in June for the August start date, that means what it means. What it means is that, are you okay with doing this? We need to know before then. We cannot wait until August to say, okay, you're hired. So you're going to have to work with us on that. All right. So if you are, a professional that is doing it, the reason that we want to hire in June to get them prepared for August, because A, there is some training that must happen. I got to orient you on the Community Stars program, what you're going to be doing and things like that. And then on top of that, I also want to make sure that we have everything negotiated correctly about what you want to do. I'm not just going to make up random contracts and say this is what it is, and it's not. You know, it just doesn't work that way. After we moved the date up on this one on purpose because the information website is going to be on May 21st. So early registration for this year. Now, I don't expect a lot of people to sign up for Community Stars this year because very new. I will say that for the truth. But if we do get more than what was originally expected, we will tell you if we reach that milestone. But we don't expect it in the beginning, only because of it being a new program. And people need to be able to trust us and things like that. However, May 21st to June 15th is going to be early registration. That would be there would be no fees. You know, you won't have an application fee. There we go. That's what I mean. You will incur a $150 application fee to Community Stars if you're doing this. Now, let me explain another thing, because I know that I have the contest coming up, so I don't want to confuse the contest with all them. The contest could make or break what your next steps are. But if you are one of those that are signing up for Community Stars and get accepted into the program, then we will waive the $150 that you paid toward the application fee or toward your tuition if you're one of those that already registered before the application fee started. So in other words, I'm not trying to take any extra of anything. All I'm really trying to do is make this all work. The contest is really going to be a lot to do with freelancers. We have many agencies that are actually on board about this. We're going to be sending more applications, more whatchamacallit. Let me just be more straightforward. I keep messing this up. We'll end up sending more emails. I'm just getting tired. It's been long. We're going to send more emails out to training agencies and other agencies as well, national agencies, to see the participation level. But there are a few people out there that have millions and millions and millions of people in following. We got many influencers and whatnot that are signing up for our affiliate program. So they'll be making lots of money, especially with millions of followers that would be interested in wanting to actually sign up to the contest. So this is going to be a very good thing. This is also going to help the company actually realize a budget for what we want to hire too. Okay, so when we want to hire a host for our live show, we would be able to say, okay, it's not 500, it's 1,500 or whatever the case may be. In the meantime, it ain't not much work at all, unless it's just straight up jealousy. But it's not much work at all to just sit there and get people involved and tell them about the Spring Fling extravaganza. It's going to be the best opportunity for them to actually be seen and exposed, and also networking. So if you got, and I was just playing around with numbers, if you got 7 million people that are following you, and out of 7,500,000 actually signed up, which is what, like not even a third, okay, of your following. If they had signed up based off of $50 for recruitment on that, you're talking about actual, you're actually talking about $25 million on 500,000 people signing up. And this is for influencers who are actually out there influencing people to do things. Now, if you're the one that wants to cheat on the opportunity and say, no, I need to get paid $50 an hour and I can get as many people signed up as possible, then what happens is while it may look like it's going to be difficult for me, you just literally blew yourself out of whatever money you could have made. Why? Because I got 3 people that I just spoke about this. What I'm saying is actually a sample. It's a real thing. And I've gotten emails left and right with people already asking. They've been asking for a month, but because of the glitch, I'm just glad that it's real now. All the flyers and everything is being set up. We got a lot of stuff that has changed even. But there are at least 3 influencers via YouTube and or Instagram that has a following of over 50 million people, over 50 million. I'm not talking about thousands who are actually in the affiliate program. And I'm only saying based off of a 500,000 following list would actually show up or submit. To be very honest, I wouldn't even doubt if it would be more than that, but I don't want my expectations to oversee what it is that could actually happen. So that's why I'm keeping numbers very, 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 very low, even lower than the 500,000 for sure. I mean, could 500,000 actually sign up? Possibly, yes. It should be easy enough. The investment isn't really actually that bad for what is going to happen. It is $150 for the session. You're going to submit 3 photos, an introductory video, and 200-word bio. And of course, there are some other things that you have to sign and all that. But I mean, it's going to be a very short form, very easy scenario. It's going to be easier for you guys than it was for me. Put it that way. But it will actually pay up in the end. And what we want to do is once we actually figure out the actual amounts of people doing what they're doing, we might actually increase our cash prize, because right now it's set at 5,000, but the top person at 5,000 could literally actually get $7,000 to $10,000 worth of perks that they would not have to even pay for. I'm talking about makeup and hair makeover, fashion spreads, attending showcases, all that stuff would all be included. We're talking nearly $10,000 just on that by itself. And it could include travel if you're actually international with sponsorship. But you know, right now I have it without any real high expectation. that it should be easy to make the $5,000, even at that worst case scenario, that would be what the budget is. It still will make for a fun time, and there's still that big package. So I didn't stop the package. I just the actual cash prize is actually a little bit on the low end. And what I would like to try to do is put it into the $1,000 mark for a few people, not just one. So there's several things that I'm looking at doing, but we have to see what the participation level is going to be. And right now, it's actually really looking like it's going to be pretty good, because we have some pretty good YouTubers, Instagrammer. So we have some nice agencies that are already like, as soon as the flyer gets done with, which I think the flyer will either be done either in a minute here when I get done talking with you guys, or it's going to be done sometime tomorrow afternoon before I pop on the air. When it does, it'll be the first thing that you actually see online that I post. But yeah, that's all that I have right now. If you have any questions at all, you can put them in the comment section down below, and I'll be able to answer them in the next recording. Until then, have a very blessed evening.